many of you have mentioned already the recommendation to 202 on social protection floors, which I would like to use as an example in my presentation, which would be about the role of ILO social security standards in realizing the right to social protection and social security more specifically. So thank you to all of you for already mentioning some of the key elements. I would just like to highlight three particular aspects where the ILO social security standards really have a role to play to complement whatever comes from human rights, and also to kind of make it more concrete, to provide more concrete guidance in specific country situations. So the first point that I would like to make is the point about the kind of the operational significance, and meaning that to really kind of to strengthen the link between the human right as such and its implementation in a concrete country context. So really to see what exactly does it mean? What does it mean for example, legal frameworks? What does it mean for financing structure? What does it mean for administration and governance? What does it mean for levels of benefits, for adequacy, for coverage? So really having the more concrete guidance on these very specific aspects is really kind of, I think, one of the key contributions of ILO social security standards to the whole human rights debate. And I think that is really one very important point where we can, as kind of the international agreed standards of the ILO, can really help to strengthen also the human rights agenda and work together with it to realize the right to social security. And I think in having said that, but at the same time, I think it's very clear that there's not one single model. So really kind of also having the standards, but at the same time have the flexibility of really allowing for different ways of achieving those outcomes is important. And in fact, the ILO social security standards have served as a reference even in countries that haven't ratified the conventions, but still the standards are being used all over the world as a reference in the development of national social protection systems, and I think as such play quite an important role in this development. The second point I would like to highlight is in a way how these standards come about. Actually, the ILO is an agency where around kind of the ILO's table, they're not just governments, but they're also workers and employers. And all of the ILO social security standards are being developed as a matter of consensus, or at least a very large majority of governments and employers and workers. And that ensures that there's a very broad perspective being taken into account. And this is not only this does not only show in the way how these standards are being adopted, but it also shows in the content and in the emphasis then on participation mechanisms when it comes to the development of national social protection systems. For example, if you have, as an example, in the recommendation 202, at various critical instances, it foresees the kind of a national dialogue that includes obviously the employers and workers' representatives, but not only, but it also includes a range of other stakeholders. And I think this is a very important point also to make sure that the policies are developed at country level in a participatory way, where people can bring in their viewpoints and ensure also that the systems are then working for everyone in the country. And my third point is really a very strong emphasis on the building of national social protection systems and strengthening national capacities. So I think the ILO's approach reaches much beyond short-term and temporary safety net interventions, but it's really about building national social protection systems that are sustainable, that are coherent, that are equitable, and where you can actually provide for universal provision and universal coverage for everyone. And I think that's also a very important point that I would like to highlight. And again, it's an outcome-oriented approach. I mean, if you read Recommendation 202, it does not speak about specific social protection benefits. It speaks about basic social security guarantees, and these guarantees can be realized through different means in different countries. And how they're being realized depends on the national context, and it depends also on these kind of national dialogue processes. And I think this is really a key element in building national social protection systems. And actually, what is sometimes I think also a bit misunderstood is the fact that although it's called the Social Protection Floors Recommendation, but it doesn't stop at the level of floors. It does not stop at the minimum, but it provides also guidance for countries on how to develop their social protection system. And this is very much in line also with the human rights principle of progressive realization. And I think that's also an important point to see that those social protection systems, they're not, as you said, they're not only targeting the most vulnerable. They're really providing mechanisms for everyone, because, universality is really about providing protection for everyone, not necessarily through the same means. But it's really important that everyone is being protected. So it's not just an approach for poverty reduction, but it's an approach for the prevention of poverty, and it's an approach for the reduction of inequalities, and it's an approach really for social justice. And I think in that spirit, I think we're very happy to have been part of the development of that platform, and we're very happy to continue providing input. And I think we would also invite also all of you to provide inputs, because I think the real benefit of this platform it's not to have it, but to have it lively and make sure that it's being further developed and improved in the future. And for that, we really also count on your inputs. Thank you very much.